right, hello friends, Jeff Ellis Worldwide here, and look who we have back in the studio. It's Bill.
Hey everybody, good to be back.
It's good for him to be back, and then we have a new guest, Jamie.
Hey everybody, good to be here.
And why don't you just quickly introduce yourselves to us, tell us what you do at iZotope, and then we'll get into Neutron 5 with 3 new modules. Incredible. This is exciting. And this is my new Telefunken spoon mic that we're going to be using because it's the best way to record 3 people at one time with one lav.
It's vintage, beautiful.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, I'm Bill, and I'm a product manager with iZotope Native Instruments. Worked on the last 2 Ozones, 10 and 11, and now the new Neutron. Pretty psyched to show it off to y'all.
Cool. Oh, thank you for the spoon. Hey everyone, I'm Jamie. I'm a UX designer here at iZotope. I've worked on pretty much every project you can think of under the iZotope belt. Ozone, Neutron, Nectar, Vocal Synth. And I did the interface for Neutron 5, and Bill and I worked really closely together. So yeah, we're excited to show off what we've been working on.
Sick. Thank you. All right, should we jump into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's go.
So starting off, we got our beautiful wavy orange magic, courtesy of Jamie and
Great design, Jamie.
and Midjourney. Like Jeff said, we got 3 new modules. So Neutron, if you're not familiar with it, it's kind of like Ozone, where it's a suite of a bunch of plugins, and you can combine them in this mothership, or you can use them individually.
Did you say mothership?
That's what we call it, the mothership.
Yeah, like that.
And so it had a bunch in there already, really good compressor, EQ, exciter, gate, and then we've added 3 new ones, a clipper, a density module, and a phase module. So we're going to go through them in that order, trying to really stuff this upgrade with a bunch of value so people feel psyched
Stuff
about
grade.
going from 4 to 5. Stuff grade. Big stuff grade. So we've got the clipper on these drums, and this clipper is really good for, claiming headroom, clipping off the tips of these drums, and then using the soft clip boost to make it really fat and present and bring it all forward. So we'll start with just sort of the basic clipping these drums.
How's this volume for you? Can you hear this?
Sounds good to me, yeah.
Very cool.
So we're taking the tips off these drums. You can see in the I/O meters on the left and right, we're getting back a bunch of headroom. You can see on the scrolling waveform, we're starting to hit the tips of those drums and clip them off. And then with this soft clip boost, we'll bring the drums forward and make them sound much more kind of fat and present in the mix. Push it a little too far. Pull it back. Pop it off and on. And that's the basic way to use the Neutron clipper. You just kind of pull the threshold down and start trimming those peaks off, and then bring the soft clip boost up and fatten them up. But what I think is really cool about this clipper, which we'll get into, is the flexibility from the multi-band and the mid-side transient sustain modes.
Okay, so I'm very excited about this one little thing that we talked about earlier. You have it set up now to where you can clip the sustain and not the initial attack. Is that true?
Right, so you can let the transients come through cleanly if you want, and just bring up everything else. So that's kind of cool on this drum kit. We'll show you how to do that. So it's this unassuming little Venn diagram circle. You can switch it into mid-side or transient sustain. So let's do that. We'll stop clipping for a minute, and just maybe you're not familiar with transient sustain. So the idea is we now have separate soft clippers on the transient part of the signal and the sustain. What is that? So we can solo just the transients of this drum and listen to that. and we need to just listen to the drums and not the music. So these are the transients, and then this is the sustain, which is everything else, with the transients sucked out. So like Jeff was saying, which you can hear in the sustain is a lot of that like room sound, and maybe you want to bring that out while leaving the transients kind of intact. So we could just bring down this threshold, bring up the soft clip boost, stop soloing, and just like bring out that room sound. And off.
That's nice because you can get in a situation to where sometimes when you're clipping stuff, it sounds really good, but you lose the transient, and that's so annoying, right?
Yeah.
So what if there was a way to get a little bit of both? Because a lot of the cool clipping aspect of it is that you're just bringing all that stuff in between the transients up. But if you're just clipping off everything, then you lose the ability to get that punch out of the speakers. That's like one of the things that annoys me the most when mixing is like, this song, sometimes you get a rough mix that's like super clipped and it sounds really cool. But then I want to add like some punch to it, but it's like, you can't really get that punch that you can't like tell the speakers to push out if they're just literally hitting a wall and getting clamped off, right?
Yeah.
So when I saw this, actually, like before I came in today, I saw your preview video of this and I was like really excited about this aspect of it. So that's super cool. And another cool thing about this is you can actually like process different parts of the spectrum differently, right? Like you could, if you just wanted to do the highs, you could do that. Or is that true?
Yeah, exactly. This is like one of the nicest UXs. It's this acronym UX, which is what Jamie does. What is UX?
User experience. So basically like how you interact with the thing. So a good way of explaining the difference in UX is like the experience of using an analog EQ, of just using knobs, versus using like a parametric EQ where you can see everything. Like it's a very different experience. So like
It's experience. It's not even like, that's crazy. Someone was like bold enough to be, it's like UX experience.
They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, that's intense. Yeah, because if you were a UE designer, that sounds lame, right?
Not as cool.
Not as cool.
No,
Way not as cool.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do the job.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So like
True.
Neutron has this UX, we call it, where you can super easily just split the processing across separate frequency bands. And then as we switch between these, like we will see the scrolling waveform. Like if we're on this orange one at the bottom, this is actually just the scrolling waveform of the bass. Like that's just the kick. That's the mid-range. That's the top end. We can solo them. Top end. Mid-range. And low end. So one that I thought was kind of cool was like, okay, let's say we want to kind of bring out the kick drum and make it thump and kind of punch. We can do that with the low end band. And start bringing this down. And then really fatten it. But in this recording, there's kind of like a muddy low end going on. If we solo this, we can hear it. Like the low end of the kick is really just ringing out. There's a lot of mud down there. So this is a cool use for transient sustain. We pop it into transient sustain, keep doing the same thing on the transient, but we could take all of that sustained low end and just burn it all away with the clipper. So compare this to that. And if you can hear the low end well, it's a punchy transient only bass with all of the muddy sustained kind of blown away versus a really just muddy kind of low end with stereo. Cool use for transient sustain.
Nice.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention too, whenever you see these handles or that little area with the plus in the modules, like across modules, it's the same experience if you want to split up the frequency bands.
Where is it?
So just like if you were to remove a band right now.
Here, hold the mouse right now and show us the button you're talking about.
Yeah. Just like whenever you're using Neutron, wherever you see something like this with a little spectrum and the plus, the plus indicates like you can do this across multiple modules, not just the clipper. Same with transient sustain. Wherever you see this little icon throughout the modules, there's some options there for you for the different channel modes.
So what modules right now, like which one of these modules is the transient sustain where you can break it up between transient and transient sustain available now? Because it's not just the clipper, right?
It's not just the clipper. It's in the equalizer as well.
Okay.
So that's a super versatile one.
That's interesting. An interesting premise. Okay.
Transient sustain EQ.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also the sculptor and the unmask module.
So interesting. Okay, cool.
And then the transient shaper got mid-side only because a transient sustain transient shaper is like redundant. So,
okay, got you. Cool.
So a lot of those modules have that little, Venn diagram, and then a lot of them, like the compressor, you can have a multi-band compressor, and you can get into trouble if you don't know what you're doing. And kind of screw up the sound, but we try to make it part of the UX is like there's a straightforward way to use this. Like I showed at the beginning, you do a little clipping, you do a little soft clip boosting, keep it simple. But then as you want to like peel back the layers of the onion and go deeper, you've got these extra flexible ways of like controlling the processing.
I see another one of these Venn diagrams down here. What is this for?
That one monitors in mono.
I got you. Okay. And then this is like some sort of phase
flipper.
for the whole,
Phase
okay.
invert,
Yeah.
And then channel swapping.
Left-right swap.
Oh, okay, cool. That's nice. So you have that on your, okay, cool. Mm-hmm. And should we jump into density?
Density.
Are we ready to jump into density?
Let's get dense.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay, so density is a type of compressor. And the way that everybody usually thinks about compression is like downward compression, where the signal is exceeding a threshold and it's getting turned down. And density is an upward compressor. So as the signal falls below the threshold, it gets turned up. And this is cool because it's easy to use. It sounds really good. A lot of the time more transparent than downward compression, because you're like, in downward compression, you're pushing up against that threshold and it's trying to hold you down, and you can kind of hear that much more than as it's falling away. The density module holds the signal up, and it's got a bit of a different sound to it. The demo file I have for this is a vocal where the vocal is kind of uneven. We'll listen to it dry first and hear how he trails off at the end of phrases, and you can't hear kind of the last words he's saying. They get buried in the mix.
When you look into my eyes, can you see that I've been running? Can't you see I'm trying to?
And it's got kind of a cool emotion to it, but a lot of the time in pop or pop adjacent mixing, like you want to keep the vocal up front. You want to hear pretty much every word. So density module makes that really easy. Again, it's as the signal falls below the threshold, we're going to lift it up. So you kind of want to set the threshold right at the top of like where the waveform is. We got this scrolling waveform. And then you just take this big knob and it's like, what's the range of upward compression you want to do? We'll make it 10 dB, so it'll be hopefully decently obvious. And now listen to how each word is like audible.
When you look into my eyes, can you see that I've been running? Can't you see I'm trying to hide?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is this similar to that new knob that's on Ozone? The upward, isn't there like an upward compression knob on Ozone now too?
Yeah, and the maximizer,
Yeah.
it is similar. It's actually different DSP, digital signal processing. It's like a whole different algorithm. And this one we call our surgical upward compressor.
Okay.
Because you can control its ratio and its speed and its range in Ozone, you can basically just control the range, and you can control the threshold on this one. So it's actually a new piece of DSP that we developed, but they're both upward compression.
Very cool. And while I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh, maybe this could get brought into Nectar someday. Because Nectar is a very vocal-centric plugin, right?
Totally.
So that would be helpful maybe to see that in the future,
Yeah.
potentially. Cool. I think that's a really helpful tool for vocals, for sure. It's an interesting way to think about compression.
It's super, just bring the threshold right to kind of where you want it and then boost it up. And you don't have the downside of like downward compression because it leaves the vocal to kind of be open and like get loud at parts. It just doesn't let it get quiet.
That's nice because so often when I'm mixing these songs, I'm always hearing people put compression in such a way to where when the vocal wants to dig in and be expressive, that's when it's clamping down.
Yeah.
However, that's just stifling emotion away. And it's just, to me, that doesn't sound great at all. However, during some of the quieter parts, I end up having to do loads of clip gain automation and stuff to bring the quieter bits up. So this seems like a really great time-saving tool, potentially.
Yeah, hopefully.
Very cool.
It's my new favorite compressor, for sure.
Cool.
It's the one I'm using most.
Looking forward to trying this out. My brain is like pinging off various ideas and schemes and what's the potential of density.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Compression's out, density is in.
The other thing, that we were kind of thinking about when we were designing this was like Bill said, like compression is kind of hard to understand unless you really take the time to understand it.
Yeah.
And like, let's say you set a threshold, you're compressing, then you have to have some makeup gain. Maybe there's some auto makeup gain in the thing you're using, and then you're working with that as well. Just like a lot of things to wrap your head around. When in reality, like maybe the end goal is like, I just want this thing to sound a little louder and a little more consistent. So that's kind of the goal of density is like, all right, bring out the parts that I want to bring out. Keep the expressive parts that you're talking about expressive. Yeah. So hopefully people like it.
Cool. Yeah, and also I want to mention that a lot of times I'm using the Neutron plugins outside of the mothership. I'll just go like, especially the transient shaper, I'll just type in search Neutron transient shaper, go, boom. So you don't even have to bring in the whole mothership. Yeah. So you might just be like throw density on. So you can also think of these Neutron plugins as individual plugins as well.
Right.
You don't always have to go in this like mothership approach.
Totally.
All right. Should we jump into this? Okay, this next one's very interesting.
So you reminded me of one of the things I meant to show and I forgot.
Okay.
Which is transient shaper.
Okay.
Because that's definitely one of the most popular and kind of favorite parts of the Neutron suite.
Yep.
And the fun thing that we've added is mid-side in transient shaper. And so a cool move that I thought was cool for this demo is taking the sides of these drums and increasing their transients so that basically every time the drums hit, it's like they're also pulsing outward, and it's kind of just a fun creative move. Let's start with it off, see if you can hear this.
My brain is like, okay, interesting. So this might be a scenario in which I find sometimes like a snare drum right in your face. People get obsessed with their snare drums, but a lot of times it's just like blocking the vocal, and it's hard to fall into the narrative of the actual vocal. Your brain is like, I call it this, it's discordant. Like you can't fall into the words because there's a freaking snare drum right in your face, and like music producers like snare drums are so sick, whatever. But like, if it's like not necessarily like a dance song, you don't need so much driving snare drum. This might be a solution. Get the transient of that snare drum in the left and right channels, and then you're leaving the center more open for the vocals.
Yeah.
Is that like a situation where you could foresee someone doing something like this?
Totally.
That's where my brain went
right,
instantly.
You could bring up the side transients, and you could bring down the middle transients.
Right. That's an interesting sound. I wonder what that would sound like. I'm so off to the speakers right now. I can't really hear what it's doing, but I'm
Yeah.
like so excited to check this out.
Well, another
You could slap this on your stereo bus too, kids. Don't be afraid to do that. I'm putting transient shaper on my stereo bus all the time.
Yeah.
And this particular situation right here, just the room, that's such a sexy. It's almost you can create like a reverb on your song
Nice.
by just using like 5% of that. But now with the added addition of the mid-side functionality of that, I'm already thinking like, what could I do? What could I do?
You made me think of a good point because like we're all sort of off axis. We can't hear
Right.
it that well. And with a lot of these modules, it's not always super easy to tell exactly what you're doing. And so that's why we added delta buttons to every module in Neutron. So in this case, we're expanding the sides. I want to make sure I'm not doing anything in the mid. Okay, we're not. And so if we listen to the delta of what we're doing, here's what we're adding to the sound.
Also the best terminal at LAX, the Delta terminal.
Delta terminal.
By far. They have an Alfred's coffee in there now, which is nice. Yeah.
I haven't tried it.
Yeah, it's a Delta terminal. All right, let's proceed. That's a tremendous Delta.
So this is what we're adding. And it's sides only. So
Okay.
if you're listening in mono, you won't hear that at
Man,
all.
must be nice to be on access. I'm over here beyond the right channel. I call this the dark regions, right? You're
Beyond
going to
the
learn about
channel.
that in Mixer Brain, the Mixer Brain course.
Yeah.
The dark regions. What do you know about the dark regions? Nothing. Because you didn't buy the course. It's not out yet. Right. It's
can't
coming.
wait.
It's coming.
It's coming soon, folks.
Yeah. Yep.
Just you wait.
Christmas.
I'm trying to get some discount codes. I'm trying to get some discount
Delta
codes
Sky
for the iZotope products in Mixer Brain.
Partnership.
We're thinking about partnering up.
Talk to Dave.
I already talked to Dave. And it's coming. And it's coming.
Nice. That's awesome.
But in Mixer Brain, you're going to get to see how I use all the iZotope stuff. But now I'm going to have to reshoot everything because there's all these new like
Keep
modules
coming
and
out
shit.
with new stuff.
True. Okay. Mixer Brain 2.
Sorry, Jeff. Yeah, that's
Mixer Brain 2 now with more density. Mixer Brain has 0 density in it.
it's not dense
Yeah.
enough.
Damn, Trevor, we're going to have to reshoot everything. Oh, hello, friends. We're here at East West Studios just editing this video, and I wanted to let you know that I've been working on a project. It's called Mixer Brain. And what Mixer Brain is, well, it's a way to get you out of your own head and back into making great art. And this course, this online course, is designed for songwriters and producers and engineers and mixers and anybody that needs to use their brain in the art of making music. Now, if you've been trying to learn how to mix records and engineer off of YouTube, 100% chance you have Mixer Brain, okay? It is a disaster out there, and I kind of go around YouTube sometimes and I'm just like, oh my God. I open maybe like 200 DAW sessions a year to mix off of because I don't like getting stems. So I see what everybody's doing, and I mix stuff from like all the way the biggest producers in the world, all the mid-tier producers and newbies as well, and they're all making the same mistakes and they're losing a lot of emotion by approaching the way that they make records the wrong way. So, but it's like, who the hell are you, Jeff, to say that? Well, if you're some random asshole off the internet, my name is Jeff Ellis Worldwide. I am a mixer with like over 40 billion streams on Spotify. And if you have any taste and dignity, you've probably heard a lot of the records that I've mixed. So this has given me a unique perspective into the world of mixing, and I want to make a shit ton of money and retire someday, so I'm making a course to sell to you, all right? Now, this course is called Mixer Brain, and you may be, it may already be out by the time you see this, if you watch this in like a few months down the line. But if you're watching this video when it first comes out, sign up to the mailing list, will be linked below, and check out my credits. I'll link all that stuff too. And if you think you like the way my records sound or want to hear my approach to curing your mixer brain, sign up for the newsletter or buy the course, okay? I love you. This is Trevor. He's my assistant, and enjoy the video. It's a long one, I know, and this advertisement is a long one, I know. So let's just get back to it, okay? Say bye, Trevor.
So I had just a couple more density examples. This one's showing off the multiband because we're taking these acoustic guitars and they're nicely recorded. They sound good. And with density working on that top band, you're able to just bring this really nice like sparkle and brilliance without accentuating the pick sound, which I thought was cool. So let's try this and I'll bypass them both off and on.
That was brilliant and sparkly.
Yeah.
Literally.
Brilliant.
Great words.
Dense.
Yeah.
Dense sparkle brilliance.
Yeah, sometimes I call Trevor dense. And it's not because he's sparkly and brilliant. Just kidding. Trevor's the best in the game. Trevor, jump in front of the camera really fast and show him how your mustache progress is coming. It's pretty good.
Oh, that was a terrible angle.
The mustache isn't super dense,
It's not.
but it is brilliant.
It's not a very dense one.
We'll get it. We'll get him there.
Can we sparkle it?
We're gonna get him
for
there.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Bedazzled.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then just one more bass. I find density is really good on bass because a lot of the times if you just got kind of a weak, inconsistent signal, you can like focus it on the low end and then it's just boom, really solid low end foundation. So we're doubled up. What's wrong? Is that right? Delta. So you're still getting the pluckiness and then just filling in all the rest of the low end when it gets weak.
Does this session have a stereo bus in it to where we could just plop old density on the stereo bus just to see what that could be like?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, let's try that out.
Let's see, how should we do that? Let's go back to the first example.
I can't tell if this section is like a song as a whole or like collections of various demo sounds.
It's like, yeah, it's kind of collections. Okay, let me get...
Logic is like the most inefficient scanning for plugins. No, there's no search function. You code that in 15 minutes. Like, what are you doing? You save literally years off of your career.
I'm an Ableton guy. Yeah, that saves a lot of time.
Pro Tools has it. Logic really doesn't have it, right? I'm not being an idiot right now.
I think it's just Logic.
Come on, Tim Apple. Let's go.
There is, I think, like, I've tried an extra plugin that lets you type it in. There's like a thing on
A
top
third
of it.
party or something?
Yeah.
Wild.
Okay, so on the mix bus.
When you look into my eyes, can you see that I've been running? Can't you see I'm trying to hide?
2 dB.
That I'm as lonesome as the sea. I'm as vacant as
Can I play with the speed knob really fast?
Yeah,
For my
you
own
can.
pleasure?
when you look into my eyes.
Oh.
Can you see that
While you're adjusting it, it's funny, but then it gets normal.
see I'm trying to hide? That I'm as lonesome as the sea. I'm as vacant as the desert. That should come as no surprise.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to play around with that. That's nice. All right, should we jump into the phase module?
Phase module. Let's go.
The nerdiest of all modules.
Yeah, right? The most advanced topic.
But this is interesting.
Okay, so phase can mean a bunch of different things. But one of the aspects of it is actually the symmetry of the waveform. So we're looking at a saw wave in the new phase module right now. And this is symmetrical to start with. It's going to push the speaker out as much as it pulls it in. But just for demo purposes, I want to show how extreme waveform asymmetry can be. So as we rotate this saw wave, look at how the waveform changes. It's now completely going up rather than down. And if you look at our I/O meter, you can see it's like, it sounds the exact same, but it's taking up way, way more room in the mix. And if you were to send this into a compressor or limiter, it would actually hit this top part and not hit the bottom part. And so it basically takes up headroom for no purpose. And it can go down. And obviously this sound was symmetrical to start with. I'm just using it as an example. But this can happen a lot with like brass instruments. So I've got this trombone.
I love a good visual example.
Yeah. We can see with this trombone, it's going down more than it goes up.
Not good.
Not good. We can learn phase rotation and make it symmetrical.
Ooh, beautiful
See the
symmetry.
difference?
Just as the universe intended.
And now that we've lined ourselves up with the will of the universe, you can do it with vocals.
Wait, go back and show them how different the meter
How
was.
different the meter. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
this is the most essential. Because who cares about symmetry if your headroom isn't benefiting, right? Because it's a pretty significant difference.
Totally. Here, let me learn it again.
Relearn. Ooh.
Okay, so you can see before that input, we're hitting 0. And then after, we got a good 5 dB improvement of headroom. And it sounds exactly the same.
What causes these things to get like skewed off?
I think it's because, and somebody in the YouTube comments might correct me, like when you're blowing a brass instrument into a microphone, the microphone is being pushed away,
Okay,
right?
interesting.
But it also, I think it has to do with like the high frequencies of it, and I'm not totally sure.
Okay, interesting. That's something to research. Someone on YouTube go on a deep dive and figure this out and let us know. But either way, it seems to have a tremendous impact on the usage of headroom in your mix. So that's very interesting.
Right. So
His vocal example is crazy too. I already
Yeah,
like
this one's pretty
seen
good.
it.
So vocals too, I think that is what it is. When you have a mic in front of you, you're blowing air into the capsule and it's being pushed away from you.
That would make sense.
I think that makes sense. So let's check it out on this vocal again.
Some enchanted evening, you were wearing red.
It's going up more than it goes down. Learn it.
Enchanted evening. That's a great
Some
lyric.
enchanted evening, you were wearing red. You had a ring already, but I made you my wife instead.
Sweet symmetry. Sweet headroom.
Sweet, sweet headroom. And it sounds the exact same. So just a cool little addition to the phase module there. Let me actually show one more, because this one I understand the least out of any of them. So maybe someone can tell me about this. This synth is super asymmetrical. And then when you learn the rotation, look at how this one changes.
So how does a synth get out of whack if nothing's being blown?
It's a good question.
We need to call a scientist about
Yeah.
this. We'll figure it out, or just YouTube outsource it. Please, someone figure out why this happens.
I have faith in YouTube.
The
Yeah.
mysteries of phase.
Yeah,
So that's phase rotation.
maybe it's the moon phase.
Could be the phase of the moon. Is it waxing?
It's gibbous. Let's use this new phase module to improve the relationship between two drum samples.
Right.
How about that?
We're stacking up samples, and sometimes you might find that you layer two and you like it, but it gets subtly worse, especially in the low end. Right? Do you find people doing that often?
I feel like people are subtly making their music worse from all angles consistently all the time. This is a lot of, it's like 50 subtly worse moves that add up to a mess. So let's subtly fix one problem where a producer picked two samples that have a poor relationship with each other,
Right.
as opposed to just picking one good sample.
So we got these two samples, and it's basically like one is pushing while the other is pulling. And by lining them up, we can have them push and pull together. And what's kind of cool about this phase plugin is we can see our main signal, then we can pipe in the second sample and see it in the side chain. We can see them stacked on top of each other and then layered together. So we've got these two kick drums and just a little bit of music playing behind it. And so that's the main signal. That's the side chain. That's them layered. We can zoom in. And we can see how one is pushing while the other is pulling. Combine them and kind of see that destructive interference. And so by learning a better phase relationship between these two kicks, we can really improve, especially their low end response.
Ooh.
Hear that thumpy thump?
Yeah, because often we just have our facelift button that goes a hard 180.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to finesse it a little better than that, because sometimes things are just completely out of polarity, but usually it's by a certain ratio,
A
right?
couple milliseconds.
Yeah. So, man, I can't get over this purple line that Jamie came up with. That's just such a calm color, right? How long did you spend picking that color?
Honestly, not too long. We already had this purple because actually
You're
another.
not even responsible for the purple?
No, I made the purple originally, but we already had it from something prior.
Okay, yeah.
Because a little a side thing, a little pro tip, in the compressor, if you like oscilloscopes, we actually do have an oscilloscope in the compressor. So we have the same sidechain capability.
Not purple?
The sidechain signal is purple usually, so that's why in here you'll notice that combined purple, the sidechain is purple, the main is a more neutral color, so that way you can kind of see both.
Maine is ugly.
Maine is the black sheep of the family, but it's doing their job, So
Murphy the dog is just dropping the loud bones.
Mer's having a great time. But yeah, just wanted to mention the little oscilloscope and the compressor too.
Holding this so close to your mouth, you're like this, but then we're mostly like this, and I just feel the pain of Trevor having to automate this spoon
Sorry,
microphone.
I have a spoon.
We need to do a consistent
Here.
yeah, sure. Okay,
Yeah.
now keep talking.
All right, hold on. So yeah, the purple took hours. I'm not gonna lie. No, we do honestly as a sneak peek thing. We colorblind test the colors. We make sure they have good contrast.
Oh, cool.
We did a lot of work with the waveforms, the colors of the waveforms and spectrums, the grids and stuff this time around between 4 and 5 to just make them more useful, a little bit more optimal for the modules.
Will you focus group certain colors?
No,
Does it go that deep?
It doesn't go that deep.
Yeah.
We could.
It makes a difference though.
But
you
yeah,
know
it
what
does.
I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely get feedback.
That purple is just
I'm happy to hear
Don't you feel it?
I like it.
it. I
Yeah.
hope it keeps you at ease more.
Yeah. Helps me get into the flow state when it's like non-obstructive colors.
Right.
Murphy the dog has gone crazy.
Sound good.
Did we get it? Did we say everything we need to know about phase? Did we get it all in there?
I think we
Did
got
I
it
cut
all
you
in
off?
there.
Yeah.
No, that was good.
That was super helpful. I'm gonna try this on a mix that I'm working on right now, where there's like one kick drum but like 5 different snare samples.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to see what that does.
I think, that would probably be a really good time to use it.
Yeah. Can you do like more than one, like multiples upon multiples, or is it?
Well, it needs to take a side chain, which can only be one. So what I think you would do is like on those 5 layers, you would side chain the kick to a neutron on each of them. And then
Well, it's a snare, right? So there's 5 snares. So once
Okay.
you like you pick like one snare drum that you want to be like
to be
the
the-
master.
Yeah.
And then like kind of sync up the other 4 to that one and see how that goes.
Right.
Interesting. Okay. I don't have to play around with that. It's funny, like people when we get songs to mix, they'll be like, and I can just tell that the producer had just like a giant null and went on their workstation, so they keep adding these kick drums, but they're not really hitting, or they're just adding sample. Their gain stage in their sessions really bad, so they just like need more tracks and more samples to like get over the music. Just little situations like that, or they're just adding multiple drum samples that are all like conflicting with each other.
Right.
But once you go in and fix all of that stuff and get all the phases locked in, now all of a sudden you have like the most giant boomy kick drum of all time, and it's like way overpowering the track. So you have to like bring that all way down. It's just kind of funny.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but it's great that you're making tools like this for people like me that have to try to reverse out these problems, which
Yeah.
is very cool.
Hopefully pretty quick. And that visual is really nice, being able to just line them up and kind of see it with the layered or the combined oscilloscope, or learn it.
Yeah, cool. Well, I think we got everything with Neutron. This has been great. I'm excited to jump into this. I think I'm most excited about density, and the mid side stuff is going to be really exciting. That clipper on the release of everything is interesting. This is going to be fun to jump into this. And Trevor, what's your what are you most excited about? Pop in.
Ooh,
Pop in here, Trev.
I agree that density.
Pop in.
Oh.
Pop in.
I agree that density is going to be a game changer. No more over compressed vocals. Just use that to bring some stuff up.
Yeah, and there's one thing I want to know about compression. If you make everything the same volume by over compressing, it's as corny as taking like a MIDI piano and putting all the velocity at the same thing, like 127, and it just gets corny, right? Now, when we do it with a piano, it's like super obvious. But when you put 97 compressors on a vocal, for instance, or you're just over compressing with one vocal, not listening to the emotion, it gets as corny as a piano all 127. So even though tools like density are going to be super cool and helpful, actually listen, right? And feel. Don't overdo it. See how your moves are impacting the emotion of the record. And yeah, actually listen. And I know that none of you are actually listening because I get your DAW sessions, okay? So please just actually listen. I'm going to sign off with that. All right? Thank you
Yeah.
so much for coming. And I'm going to have you back again soon for, maybe we'll bring like that guy in Boston. What is his name? The other product specialist.
The other product manager, maybe
Yeah.
Dan or Mike.
Fly them all out here.
All right.
We need their perspective.
We'll get the whole gang together.
Get the whole gang together. Okay, cool.
Sweet.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
coming.
guys.
Thanks for having us.
Bye, everybody.
Appreciate it.
Have fun. Yay. Buy a mug.